Welcome, my name is Xary and this is how to build a rocket ship in one chunk in Minecraft. Thank you, Joe, for the idea, and you, hey, subscribe so I can grow my channel. And now, let's go building. First, I set up a chunk, and a chunk in Minecraft is a 16 by 16 area. So I have to stay in the black and the yellow blocks. So this is a setup for the rocket ship that comes above it. And I try to give myself enough space to build it, because I want to build like the booster underneath it. When I was building, I thought it was too close to the ground, so I removed some from the bottom and put it up one bit higher. And here I'm trying to shape the bottom so that it's not as chunky. And with a one chunk, all about scaling, and that's the hardest part of a build. So I'm trying with glass to add some movements into the booster. I did it with 3 different kinds of glass paints. It's yellow, orange and red. And I place them, and you see me placing and removing them a lot just when I'm happy with the shape. And this can take a while, but just play around with it, play around with the colors and see when you like it. And now it is time to add a little bit more height in the rocket, so I can attach the fins to it. Well, I hope you call it fins. But what keeps the rocket stable. So this is building on a diagonal, and that can be tricky because most of the times it comes out really chunky. So I'm trying my best not to overpower the build with it. I add some color for some depth, and this is the layer, the black layer, to kind of divide the lower part of the top part of the rocket, what I'm building now. And I try to give myself a 3D shape that I can kind of shape down and kind of get in form that I like. And when I'm ready with that, then I use color to kind of define the top of the rocket with the middle part of the rocket. And I also use the same colors from the top as on the bottom to kind of make it feel like it belongs together. Now don't worry, you can just swap out colors if you don't like it. I do it all the time. And now it's time for adding some colors to kind of define the areas, but also some light blocks. And I thought, well, this is going to be the compartment for the fuel. Let's add some mushroom lights. It adds some lights to the build, so it's not one dark thing. And it also gives some 3D effect because I used the glass paints in front of it. And then I changed my mind that I wanted to use the same color scheme as on the bottom, so the 3 different kind of paints, yellow, orange and red. And then it's time for the inside, and in a small area that can be tricky. So here I'm trying to use chasing lights. Then you use a circle of observers facing toward each other. And when you have the first layer, you put the second layer up, but then with facing downwards into the first layer of observers, and then you can see the redstone poles going around. Add some redstone lamps to it, and then you have this effect. Now I also want to have some lamps on the side, so I put some redstone dust and added some more redstone lamps to it. And because it's really flashy, I wanted to dull it down a little bit, so I used the grey glass to kind of make it less flashy in my face. Every time if I go decorating, I try to define rooms. So here I'm gonna define the cockpit with the bedrooms and the pillars for the ladder, but it also kind of chops up the area. Now I need to lose one window, and I do love windows because it brings light inside of a build, but I want to build the cockpit. Now I'm not a rocket scientist at all, so for the decoration, as you can see, I'm using different kind of colors. I wanted a redstone light, so that's why I placed 2 observers there. I always like to add paintings, it mimics like a computer screen. And then end rods for light in the build. And with the trick with the levers, it's kind of more an industrial TL looking light or lamp. And of course you have to sit down when you are in charge of a rocket, so I built in some chairs. Build in some storage, some plants, some paintings to make it feel alive. And then it's time for the bedroom. Now I'm gonna show you 3 different designs for bunk beds, because I think it's always funny to have bedrooms, but it can be tricky in a very small space. Now, I like to use a lot of trapdoors to divide the space, like space it off, and here I'm using trapdoors and banners. And of course, in a rocket ship you also need a toilet. It is gonna be a small one, but with a lever that mimics a crane or tap, you also have some water. And hey, it wouldn't be Xary built if there are no hanging plants around. And then it's time for the outside, for underneath the rocket. So when a rocket goes in the air, you see this cloud like puffing around. Now the hardest thing for me is that I had to stay in a one chunk. But I also decided to use the color. So I put the darker color, dark grey glass in the middle, then grey glass around it, and then the white glass. So it mimics like the dark is coming out of the booster and then the white puffy clouds are going all around it. And then I hope not to make it too chaotic. And then adding for some light in the darkness, I used some glow lichen. And I love the effect with these shaders, and I think it turned out amazing. Now I had a blast building this rocket. If you have any ideas for a next episode, please let me know in the comments. Try to like it or subscribe, it really helps me out pushing my videos. And thank you for watching. Now let's see how the rocket turns out. I'm gonna do an overfly inside out, and thank you. I see you next time.